What's good, you guys? You know who it is, man. It's your boy, Mr. Relentless Lex, and I'm back like I never left this mother. Yes, Sirski. All right, so we got Richard Lawson revealing why he couldn't stay married to Tina Lawson, which is Tina knows, but she's married to Richard, so her last name is Lawson. So I thought these two were still together, bro. I actually thought they were still together. From what I've been hearing, they've been friends for 30 years. That they say they never touched each other. They just had dates. Cap. Spicy.
Y'all, it looks like it's game over for Tina Knowles and Richard Lawson because these two just finalized their divorce. On the surface, it looks like the divorce was mutual and was as peaceful as could be, but girl, you'd be wrong about that. The internet is convinced that a lot of drama went down behind the scenes before Tina even filed for divorce, and that the divorce was secretly a hot mess. Girl, the streets are even saying that Richard was the one who was going to file for divorce because he could no longer stand Tina, but she one-upped him and filed for divorce first. But what on earth did Tina do to make Richard sick and tired of her? And were these two secretly having an affair back when Tina was still married to Beyonce's dad? Let's spill the tea. Fans were shocked when we found out last year that these two were getting a divorce because everybody believed that they were the end game. You know, that fairy tale kind of love that was going to last forever.
We became friends and it hung out, and I supported her because she was going through a tough time with the divorce and the remarriage of her previous husband. And we just took our time, we became friends, we hung out, we traveled, and little by little, you know, all the things that were naturally connected.
But while we were trying to figure out how they went from that to getting divorced, we couldn't help but notice some red flags between them that kind of showed that these two weren't perfect as we had imagined. For one, while they claimed that they had been friends for more than 30 years and nothing intimate happened, they were soon exposed for lying about that. Word on the streets is that Tina and Richard had a little something going on when she was married to Matthew Knowles, and Richard was married to somebody else. Matthew and Tina were married for about 30 years, but let's be real, nobody would call those 30 years a joyride. Matthew was out here doing the most, and by that I mean he was allegedly cheating on Tina left, right, and center with every woman that he could convince to hop into bed with him. Rumor has it he couldn't keep it in his pants for most, if not all, of their marriage. Fast forward about a year after they got married, Tina was pregnant with Beyonce and decided to drop by her BFF Gwen's place. While she was there, she bumped into Gwen's older brother, Richard Lawson. And honey, Richard was all about Tina from the jump, baby bump and all. He didn't care one bit that she was pregnant because he was convinced it was love at first sight. Richard was already married with a daughter then, but he didn't care and was into Tina big time. But Tina claimed that she wasn't about that, so she shut that down real quick, sending Richard straight to the friend zone. However, it looks like Tina might not have been completely honest about this because, according to Beyonce's former vocal coach, David Brewer, Tina and Richard were allegedly smashing at the time. According to David Brewer, the marriage was super strained at the time because Matthew was allegedly into some illegal substances. In his tell-all book, he wrote, "Turns out he had escalated to stronger and even stranger behaviors." Rumor had it that had long since stopped satisfying his thirst and had turned. David claimed that it was the habit that eventually led Tina to start cheating on Matthew with nobody else other than Richard Lawson. David wrote, "I soon discovered that although unhappily married, Celestine was not suffering all by herself. Going over to the main house to retrieve my keyboard one afternoon, I happened upon Celestine kissing a man. I recognized him immediately, Richard Lawson, a famous actor. The startled Celestine had no choice but to introduce me. Talk about awkward. She was supposed to be at her salon. I extended my hand to Richard, telling him how much I admired his work. He nodded. It's a pleasure, he said. After letting him out of the house, Celestine turned. Richard is my cousin, she said. He's on that stuff." So she lied about who Richard was, which is sus AF. So it looks like they got together when they were both married, and y'all know that most relationships that start as a result of affairs rarely ever work out.
Thanks.
Anywho, these two eventually got together when Tina divorced Matthew for having not one, but two babies with two separate women when he was still married to Tina. But just because she ended things with Matthew doesn't mean that she was ready to jump into a relationship with Richard, especially since she was still salty over how dirty Matthew did her.
My husband is getting married. Now, this is my family. My ex-husband is my family.
Yes.
So I'm just very, I don't want to get back into that at all. That's not what I want, but still, it still hurts a little bit, right? It still blows to your ego.
But like Richard said, he supported her through it all. They fell in love and lived happily ever after, and her kids were more than happy to give their blessings to the relationship. He said, "I called her children and asked for her hand in marriage from them. I thought that was important because I knew that it didn't stand a chance unless they were on board. I was fortunate enough that they were completely on board and just over the top excited about it." Well, they lived happily for a few years, but there were still some red flags that fans didn't pay attention to at first. For example, Tina kept the Knowles last name after she divorced Matthew, who did her so salty that she got scared of dating anybody else. So folks couldn't help but side-eye the fact that Tina kept the Knowles last name even after getting married to someone else. The tea is that many people thought she kept the Knowles last name since both of her superstar daughters carry that name. Sure, Beyonce added Carter to her name after marrying Jay-Z, but Tina was holding on to Knowles like it was a lifeline. Some fans felt this was a bit shady toward her new husband Richard, but he didn't seem too bothered. Or maybe he was just counting his blessings that she finally gave him a shot and he didn't want to make her mad. However, it didn't take long before fans started to talk about how Tina acted disrespectfully toward him. For example, in this viral interview, she seemed to completely disregard his feelings just to make her point.
Man I wanted, I prayed for the type of man I wanted, and I got pretty much that. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. But you know, he has a lot of the qualities. He has a lot of the qualities that that I love.
Girl, that man was big hurt over that statement. What makes it wilder is that there were a lot of ways that she could have played it cute and made it into a sweet moment, but she didn't. And it was clear that Richard was hurt. Like that wasn't bad enough, Tina also shaded him and the situation on Instagram, saying, "I'm careful not to confuse excellence with perfection. Excellence I can reach for, perfection is God's business." She also added the caption, "I came across this quote this morning. I could not agree more with Michael J. Fox. I believe any human being who thinks that they are perfect or someone else could be perfect is delusional. I believe that only God is perfect." I love Mama Tina, but that was unnecessary and shady to the man she married. So when we found out about the reports of their marriage being strained, fans suspected that Richard had gotten sick and tired of how Tina treated him, and that's why he was tired. Now, this is all speculation and a theory that's making rounds on social media, but fans are convinced that this happened. Anywho, the divorce was finally settled a couple of days ago, and let's just say that it wasn't what we expected. Their were split amicably, and according to reports, Tina was awarded the right to keep a property in Los Angeles and a separate property in Texas, as well as all furniture, furnishings, appliances, artwork, and personal effects at both locations. She also gets all earnings acquired since their date of separation and creative works generated during their time together. She also gets to keep a 2018 Tesla, a 2020 Bentley, the Matriarch book deal with Penguin Random House, and a 1% interest in Kirby Beauty Management LLC. Richard was also awarded a 2021 Cadillac Escalade, the right to all earnings acquired since their date of separation, funds acquired by Richard Lawson Studios Incorporated, his SAG pension plan, royalties, creative works made during their union, and personal belongings, including clothing and jewelry. Tina also made sure to protect her kids and grandkids because, according to reports, the former couple also agreed to a non-disparagement agreement, in which they acknowledged their intent to resolve all issues in their dissolution amicably by agreeing to agree on any statements made about their divorce mutually and will not speak ill about their children, grandchildren, and their spouses. But the surprising thing is that she was ordered to pay Richard a one-time payment of $300,000. Now, neither one of them requested spousal support or alimony, so it's weird that she has to pay him that much. We don't know what the payment is for because Richard is certainly not broke. However, fans are speculating that it could be some sort of payment for damages, you know, for the way Tina allegedly treated him while they were married. Now, we don't know if this is true because for all we know, it could just be a payment for one of Richard's belongings that Tina wanted to keep in the divorce, so it's hard to say. Fans left comments saying, "Behind every face is a personality," and based on that interview video of Tina insulting Richard like that, it probably was a wrap from that point. The way she talked about him in their union came off as if she never really wanted him but settled for him. If she acts like that in public, I can't imagine how she is when the cameras are off. And just because you knew the person before doesn't mean it's going to work when you finally get together. Things change and people change over time. But do you guys think that Tina was really disrespectful to Richard, or do you think that fans are reaching? Share your thoughts.
Bro, I think she was disrespectful. Because whenever she said something about there's nobody being perfect, and he looked at her, I'm pretty sure her peripheral vision could see his look. He was like, "What?" She was like, "Yeah, I said it. You're damn right I said it." So it's over. I don't know how Richard was granted to get the 300,000 though. That's crazy. I know he got his own money, and it seemed like the way everything that everybody kept in the divorce, it was a win-win for everybody. So I don't understand really why Tina had to pay him the 300,000. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's a lot of money for a divorce. But you know, that says it's easy to get into a marriage, but it's hard to get out one. And they also say it's cheaper to keep them. I'm pretty sure Tina probably felt that way. She should have kept that 300,000. Or hey, she probably got it like that. Who knows? She probably got it like that. I know I don't. I can't get into something and get out and pay that. I can't do that. We stuck.